We'll all remember this week as rotation week, the week where the market decided to rotate from the biggest companies in the world to the smallest companies that exist. This week started from a CPI, actually in the middle of the week. CPI transformed everything. Let's talk about CPI, PPI, Bezos selling billions of dollars of stock, and more and more. Are you ready for it? Then let's go. Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. Yeah, small cap stocks surged this week and I'm Micha Stocks, and on this channel we talk about stocks, and everything and anything that you hear here is not financial advice. It's just my opinion, and of course it's only for educational purposes only, and also fun, entertainment. Let's pull up our YouTube channel. Currently we have 3.7 subscribers. You're more than welcome to subscribe to the channel, of course, if you enjoy this content and you would like to consume it on a weekly basis. This is what the major averages did this week. Nasdaq almost didn't change. S&P up almost 1%. Dow Jones outperforming the S&P 1.5%, but the big story of the week is the Russell. Small caps up 6.1% for the week. This happened because of the CPI, because of the PPI. We're going to look inside the data and understand why it happened and why the market reacted the way it did. When we look at the different indices themselves, you can see that real estate is on top, up 4.4% for the week. Then utilities. These are both the sectors that are mainly impacted by higher rates. Again, lower CPI, Fed might lower rates. When they lower rates, these indices, and of course the Russell 2000 and small caps, are the one that outperform. Let's talk about the crypto market. Didn't really nudge this week, although it had a lot of continuation of bad news. Mt. Gox still waiting for that to happen. And of course, Germany selling a lot of Bitcoins. This brings us to commodities. Not a lot of movement in the commodity space. And as you can see, the Magnificent Seven, Meta, with a bad week, down 7.6%. Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Tesla all on the red. You can see most of them got hit very hard on Thursday, mainly Tesla that got hit very hard on Tuesday with the news that the robotaxi event that was supposed to happen August 8th is probably postponed till some date in October. We don't have yet confirmation for that. We're going to talk about that when we talk about the news, but that's currently the plan. And as usual, Apple and Nvidia on top. Apple came back to be the biggest company in the world, or at least in the stock market. And that brings us to this week's news. We will, of course, start with CPI. Consumer Price Index came a lot lower than expected, minus 0.1. You can see here the month over month, the year over year. This is a year over year, and this is a month over month. Inflation is falling like a rock. When we look at the different areas that fell, we started seeing cooling in shelter and, of course, in cars. Yet, insurance is still too elevated, and it's still shelter and insurance currently are the ones that are holding it. But we hope we're going to see progress there. What this meant to the market is that at least in September, between 70 to 90% currently believe that there is going to be a rate decrease. So the Fed is going to lower the rate. If the Fed will start a lowering rate cycle, this will reverse everything that went bad. What do I mean by went bad? When the Fed started to raise rates, Russell, small caps got hurt the most. The reason they're leveraged with a lot more loans. Real estate has a lot more mortgages, etc. If inflation, as it's shown here, is falling like a rock, and we will see a new campaign of lowering rates, that means that small caps, real estate, and others will start to outperform, and also banks. And that's the rotation we saw Thursday. That's why the Russell is up a lot more than all the major averages. That's why big mega caps did not perform as the Russell did. Think about it. Most of the Magnificent Seven ended negative for the week, while the Russell was up 6% for the week. That is what's happened on a nutshell. Now you can understand where the market is going. Now, will the Fed lower the rate in the meeting in the next 2 weeks or only in September? We don't know yet. Currently, the odds are for a September rate cut, but we don't know until we will see it by ourselves. What we do know is Jerome Powell was in both in the Senate and the House of Representatives this week, Tuesday and Wednesday, and he came very dovish, saying, we're probably going to lower rates. We still need more data. At least Jerome Powell doesn't want to get to a point where the labor market slows too much to a point where we get to a recession, which will be more difficult to get out of. That means that there will be, let's call it a very open discussion around lowering rates already in the next 2 weeks by the Fed. Hopefully, they won't need to lower rates out of something breaking up. Because if something gets broken, then we're in a different kind of cycle where the Fed needs to lower rates very, very fast, but the market might get spooked by it. So we're kind of, the Fed is kind of walking on thin ice here. Let's talk about PPI, which also came on Friday, but in this case, it came hotter than expected, which was a bit of a surprise, but still the CPI is overarching everything. Probably Thursday, July 11th is the day where it was clear that the Fed is going to lower rates. At least that's what the market presents itself right now. Let's talk about the news. AT&T apparently was hacked around 2022, and AT&T and Snowflake were involved in that, or actually weren't able to prevent it. Both stocks went down due to the news on Friday. Jeff Bezos is selling Amazon shares, a lot of Amazon shares. Every time Amazon gets to a $200 per share, he keeps selling over and over again. So he basically is creating a top currently for Amazon. That's why Amazon isn't able to break out of the $200. When he will stop selling, we should see Amazon keep going up. Tesla postponed, at least according to Bloomberg, Tesla is supposed to postpone the August 8th event, the robotaxi event. Tesla hasn't confirmed or denied, neither did Elon Musk, which is very vocal when he wants to, meaning that it's probably correct and they're probably delaying the event, unless he's going to come out and say, oh, it's a mistake. But currently, you should assume that's the case. MicroStrategy is, or has announced a 10-to-1 stock split. Something went wrong for Siri. Siri, I didn't want to talk to you. Stock split 10-to-1. That's going to take place August 1st. Pfizer is moving forward with their once-a-day version of a weight loss pill. Instead of injecting GLP-1 drugs once a week, they believe, or at least they're in the process of trials with a weight loss pill once a day. Costco is hiking membership fees by 5 to 10%. They haven't done that since 2017. And in Costco case, when they hike membership fees, automatically goes to the bottom line, of course. The EU has decided, or at least agreed with Apple, that Apple's technology for Tap to Go, what we know as Apple Pay, is going to be opened up to other providers as well. And as the saying says, if you can't innovate, EU, you regulate. That's what they basically did. Is Apple a monopoly? Of course, but in the EU, you have a lot more Androids than iOS, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm not even sure that they're the monopoly in Europe. Tesla awarded or secured a $256 million Megapeg contract in Australia that will be added to a previous agreement with that electricity company, which brings it to a $500 million contract value. German government has finished all their seized Bitcoin selling, and that is a pressure that is going to be relieved from the Bitcoin market. Apple aims to ship 10% more new iPhones in 2024. Apple believe that their new AI, I'm not going to say how Apple wants me to say it, their new AI capabilities will create not only an upgrade cycle, but also an upgrade cycle for the more expensive phones, which will finally see an increase in revenue and not only in earnings. AMD acquires Silo AI, the largest private AI lab in Europe. Google is shelving their discussion with HubSpot. They were thinking of acquiring HubSpot. Oppenheimer raises their price target to $5,900. More and more analysts on the street are right now increasing their price target for the S&P 500. Apple, AMD, and Intel are getting tailwind that they're going to be the AI winners for the second half, doing some kind of catch-up trade. Boeing doing the Boeing thing. The FAA ordering an inspection of 2,600 Boeing 737 airplanes for oxygen masks that can fail in emergency. We talked about Bitcoin and Mt. Gox. We talked about Germany as well. And that is basically all the news that we had this week. With a crazy market like this, not a lot of news, mainly CPI and PPI. That brings us to next week. Open your calendars, because Goldman Sachs warns that everyone, including them, are too bullish on the stock market, which means, according to Goldman Sachs, that July 17th is the day where the market is going to correct. Will it happen or not? I don't know. I'm giving you a heads up. July 17th. What does that mean? Do you need to sell something or not? I can't tell you what to do. I'm just saying that we will wake up July 17th and we can take a decision then. What we do know about next week is that we have banks that are reporting Monday, Tuesday. We'll get Goldman, BlackRock, and others. Tuesday, we'll get Bank of America, United Health, Progressive. Tuesday afternoon, we'll get Interactive Brokers, JB Hunt. And Wednesday, we're starting to get from other companies than banks. We'll get from ASML, Johnson & Johnson, and others. And after the close, we're getting United and Alcoa. And the big Thursday, Taiwan Semi and others. And Netflix and Intuitive Surgical. Friday, we're getting Amex, SLB, and Halliburton, and of course, more companies. From a macro perspective, we don't have a very loaded week. We only have retail sales on Tuesday because we're waiting for the Fed to convene the week after. And that brings us to the S&P 500. The S&P 500 on Thursday tried to create some kind of correction. That correction was bought very fast on Friday with volume that is almost the same as the correction or as the sell-off. Meaning the market wants to correct, but every time it wants to correct, currently buyers step in and buy the dip. It doesn't take a lot. It takes a few hours and buyers step in and buy the dip. Will the reports next week, the earnings report, will be bad enough that the market might create some kind of correction to around 5,400 or even lower than that, 53.7? We don't know yet. Currently, we're at 37 all-time highs on the S&P for the year. The S&P keeps going up. Year to date, the S&P is up 18.6%. No one can complain. Amazing year thus far. Even if there will be some kind of correction, I believe that that correction will be very fast bought. The dips would be very fast bought due to the fact that a lot of people, too many people, are on the wrong side of the trade, wrong side of this year. They were bearish. They're still bearish. People still believe that the market is going to crash. People still believe that the valuations are stretched. And of course, once there will be a correction, they would say, oh, you see, I expected a correction. It happened. Now I can buy. That's all I had to say for this week. Not a lot of news, mainly CPI and PPI, but they move the market like crazy. What will happen next week? We don't know. Will we see a continuation of the Russell, or we will just see the Magnificent Seven keep pulling the market up? We will see that next week, and we will summarize it. Till next time, Micha Stocks saying bye-bye.